slideshow from here or not. It just changed formats on me all of a sudden, so that's fine. Somewhere on your table you will have a brochure that if you want to take a look at it, might prompt a few questions as we come to the end of my presentation this morning. I am speaking on behalf of the Greater Gilmer Community Foundation this morning. I know for many of you, when I walk into a room, it becomes difficult at times to even know what group I'm representing. I'm active in many areas because of the love I have for the community. The Foundation's belief in this community can be summed up by our capital campaign's theme. You'll find it on the back of the brochure. Simply put, better together. And that summarizes what we think about the whole community. Everything we undertake as a community, if we work together, we are better off for that effort. With the assistance of the Chattahoochee Technical College, we recently pulled together a workforce task force, a small cross-section of our community, but still over 30 participants, who met in this room regularly over several weeks. We took a hard look at our community with an understanding that unless we realize where we are today, regardless of how long or short the journey may be, it is impossible to successfully chart the course to where we want to be tomorrow. This group worked very well together. Neither were there any pointing of fingers or accusations or questions that were asked in an offensive manner. And in the end, we all agreed on some action items to start preparing for the future. This slide gives you an idea. It's a chart over the last 50 years. As you can see, we are approaching a record low. This shows how tight the labor market is in Georgia. We're below 4% unemployment at this point, and in Gilmer County, we're also below 4% unemployment. Even though Georgia is the best state in the country to do business for now 6 years running, 6 years consecutively, reports this week begin to indicate Amazon may head north, perhaps splitting their HQ2 and going to Arlington and Queens to find enough talent in the workforce. Those still unemployed have more barriers to entering the job market today than the 7% who successfully re-entered the labor force over the past 7 years. Many employers have realized they're faced with drastic choices: higher labor costs to lure workers from other companies, automation that may eliminate the job vacancies that they're experiencing at this time, relocating to another market where the labor force may be stronger, or unfortunately, even in some cases, closing their doors. Before we look at this next slide, let me say jobs follow rooftops. We have a shortage of workforce housing in Gilmer County, but that is a topic for another day. And yes, we are working diligently every week on this item also. If you take a look at this slide, which shows our labor inflow and outflow for the community, looking at the combination of the first two numbers on the left and in the center, we have estimated 6,441 jobs in Gilmer County. Slightly more than half of those jobs are filled by commuters that come into our community. Is the volume getting a little bit better there in the back? Okay. Looking at the second and third number, the center number and the one on the right-hand side, we have an estimated 8,077 workers living in Gilmer County. That is only around 30% of our population. Can I say retirement community? We are a retirement community, aren't we? We need to realize that. We have a great opportunity, though, to engage participation on multiple levels from that remaining 70% of our population. Mentors, part-time employment, short-term outsourcing, and the list goes on and on. We also have a great opportunity to recall part of that 5,000 plus driving out of our community every day to work. We can actually drill down into the data and we can identify where they're going and what they're doing. What we need to do now is to identify who those individuals are and start recruiting some of those to come back home to work here. Each year, site selection groups working with companies seeking to relocate or seeking new areas to expand complete a survey where they share the factors which are given the most weight in their site selection process. The availability of skilled labor consistently rates in the top 5 factors. We're very proud of our quality of life in Gilmer County, and we want to do everything we can to protect that, but you can see some years quality of life doesn't even hit the top 10 factors in site selection, because one way or another there are folks that will say we have quality of life in our community, and it's a different definition for everyone. I'll be honest with you, this next slide is a difficult one to look at. In our community, for different reasons, 25% of our youth in the age bracket from 16 to 24 are neither in school or working. I've been told that in some instances, children decide in the 2nd, 3rd grade if they're going to drop out. In Georgia, they have to wait until they're 16 to actually do that. That's unfortunate. My children were both working and attending school during this age bracket, but Rhonda and I began to work with them and impact their lives at a very early age. And I say impact with my tongue in my cheek, if some of you know what I mean. As a community, we need to look for more opportunities to engage our youth on multiple levels at earlier ages. Another issue with our youth that we experience in Gilmer County is what I refer to as a brain drain. A high percentage of our young people that go on to college never return to Gilmer County. We need to find ways to encourage them to come back to Gilmer County and pursue their dreams. These next 2 slides show the results of a recent Georgia Department of Labor survey of 770 employers. 28% said their turnover rate exceeds 20% each year. So in a 5-year period of time, you could have 100% turnover, according to the way 28% of the respondents answered that question. 85% said soft skills and work ethic were an issue, and 42% said the turnover rate is directly related to the lack of work ethic and soft skills. High on the list of soft skill needs were attendance and punctuality, attitude and respect, character, and mobile device usage. How many of you got your phone out right now? Just saying. So, 76% of employers said they would give preference to an applicant with a Georgia Best certificate. So when we think about workforce, we need to think about who the partners are. This is a typical illustration of workforce partners, but this grouping is not exhaustive, and each community is structured differently. Other significant partners in some communities include, obviously, employers. Many employers today are offering internships that are helping with their need for qualified workers and giving youth the excitement of seeing what the future may hold at the same time. Faith-based groups. How many of you realize, and we've got representatives today, some of our friends from the Gilmer Learning Center are here, that this started with two of our churches, First Baptist and First United Methodist, saw a need to assist people with GED preparation, and now we have the Gilmer Learning Center because of that. And then, of course, other nonprofits and private partners, like the Greater Gilmer Community Foundation. Now, when you look at this illustration, you immediately begin to see certain things. Many of these groups don't normally talk. They don't have common goals. They don't get their funding from the same sources or answer to the same authorities. Getting them in the same room is an accomplishment in itself, and at the very beginning of that, it can be a very noisy room as everyone tries to figure out where everyone is coming from. These first few slides that we've looked at speak different things to different people. Some might want to blame someone else, but that wasn't the approach of our workforce task force. Others might want to complain about the cards that we've been dealt, but we're better than that in Gilmer County. Let's look at ways we can reshuffle the cards and deal ourselves a new hand. For our community, engagement of private partnerships through a nonprofit foundation is a great opportunity. Several years ago, some of us in this room established the Greater Gilmer Community Foundation and worked quietly in the background for a number of years looking for the right opportunity. We believe that we found it in this building here. Many of you will recognize it as being a building down on River Terrace, right across from River Park. The Greater Gilmer Community Foundation had an early go of seeing a business incubator in our community. This same goal is part of the Joint Comprehensive Plan for Gilmer County and both cities. Scalability in a community our size and funding have kept the project on hold for several years. As I watched this building on River Terrace remain empty for an extended period of time, and the availability of quality office space continued to decline, the need for co-work space also became clear to me. I've even had someone in the meeting in the last few minutes ask me where they could find space. I had a call while I was setting up this presentation from someone else looking for space. It is becoming very tight in our community. This building could house both co-work space and a business incubator. And by doing so, answer the question of how do we scale a business incubator to fit the population size of Gilmer County.